Hello. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is use this next section on this particular row to kind of go over tension and common troubleshooting measures. So it calls for 1 neon, 1 light green, back to 2 neon, and it repeats a couple times. So it's a good opportunity to go over, hey, how do you handle kind of these single colors? You know, what does that look like? What is the best troubleshooting technique, especially when it comes to tension? So obviously, kind of as I explained in other videos, too tight of tension is going to cause problems, as well as too loose of tension. So especially when we're swapping, you know, each of these, we want to make sure that, you know, the stitches are upright and rectangular and not leaning, not kind of disappearing into the fray, you know. And how do we kind of accomplish that? So again, to kind of go over, you know, what works and what doesn't, the way I pull up, especially on these stitches, is we want to make sure that they're balanced tension. So if you pull up, the way I look at it is this second bar here is going to be about twice as long as this bar. Where you're going to have issues, you know, if it's too loose, that means that this bar is like too long. And that's going to be where you're going to find, you know, the colors are poking through. It's going to be it's going to kind of be puffy. You know, it's just not going to work well. If I was to do it this way, you can see the other yarns already starting to show through. You know, you'll be able to see them, things like that. So that's going to be an example. And then when you do the back loop only, you're going to see a whole lot of loop there. And it's going to cause problems. And on the other side of things, if we go way too tight with it, so basically the hook, these two bars are equal in length, you're gonna also run into some issues. You know, and it could be, in fact, that the yarn also shows through. So you can kind of see if this bar is too tight, you can see it actually pushes the yarn through here. Because it kind of disappears and it pushes the stitch at an angle that way. And so you can see the yarn, and that's going to be why you'll see a lot of, you know, questions about, you know, hey, I have a lot of issues with the stitches leaning, I have a lot of issues with the yarn pulling through, things like that. So ideally, you come in here, when you pull up the stitch, this first one's going to be tight, the second one's going to be twice as long, and that is just to counteract the direction I am crocheting, and it's counteracting, you know, the, you know, propensity for the stitches to lean, and that way they're upright, if that makes sense. So that's the goal. I'm going to keep going a little bit. I'm going to do 2 neon here, 1 light green, 2 yellow, 1 light green, 1 neon, try not to split the yarn, 1 green, 1 teal, and then 6 green. Okay, so ideally, especially when you have these, you know, this is going to be where your tension comes in to play a lot, is when you have a lot of these one stitch, 2 stitch switches. If it starts getting really uneven, it's not the end of the world, it's just it needs practice. So that's going to be how I explain kind of where my tension comes from and how I get the vertical rectangular shape in my stitches. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment them below. Thank you.